What's going on, guys? I'm IcyRhythms, and this is my review for Mafia 3.
The world is changing. Used to be people knew their place. Now everybody's screaming about equality. Now they all deserve a slice of the pie. Niggas, nicks, gooks, you name it. Our way of doing things won't work in a world like that.
The visuals in Mafia 3 they have to be the craziest mixed bag of visuals that I've probably ever reviewed, because there was a lot of potential here. At times the game looks absolutely amazing. At night, not so much. We'll come back to that in a second. But during the day, especially during the morning, between the morning and the early afternoon, it can look fantastic, and there's a lot of attention to detail at times. But even during the day, at times, this game is absolutely ugly. I don't know what happened here. The lighting just, it goes from really good and some nice attention to detail on the streets and stuff to just being a complete mess. The rain in this game, guys, probably the worst I've seen all generation. I would like someone to point me to a AAA game with a budget of at least $40-50 million that has worse rain than this game, because this shit looks like long silver spikes coming down. It's awful. There are last generation games that have better rain than Mafia 3. I'm not kidding. You can't make this stuff up. The rain in this game is super ugly. I don't know what they were thinking. It feels extremely rushed. I don't know what happened here. And again, going back to the lighting in the dark, that's probably the worst thing. And just, the fact, once again, it's another one of those games where no matter how dark an area is, the enemy shots, their accuracy is on point. They almost can't miss. It's like 90-95% accuracy regardless of how well lit an area is or how dark an area is. It's very frustrating because in this game, you can't see 10-15 feet in front of you in some areas of this game with enemies around at that. Maybe not always having enemies around, but it's frustrating at times. The performance, optimization as a whole, just the entire package as a whole. You can be walking around in certain areas and shooting enemies, walking into some buildings, and the performance is excellent. The moment you start driving or even walking around in certain parts of the city, frame rate just tanks. I don't care what your system is, how powerful it is. This game at times just isn't going to run that well for anybody. That's the fact of the matter. It's not going to run well. It's not going to look all that great. It has some of the ugliest, if not the ugliest, rain I've ever seen in a game, and that's all I can say about the visuals.
Shit! God damn.
Sandra told me to reach out. I certainly appreciate some help with phones.
I'll be happy to take care of that for you.
I don't know why it took me as long as it did, but I'm sure some of you will watch this and say, man, I don't know how it took you that long. I figured this out after about hour 2 or 3. I get that, I do, but after about 20 to 25 hours, I started to say to myself, I'm having fun with this game. It can be fun at times, walking around slowly in some of the finer, more detailed, well-developed parts of the city. They did a really good job in some of those areas. Or listening to James Brown on the radio. The soundtrack in this game is amazing. Listening to James Brown and some of these other songs on the way to shoot some enemies in the face and just watch blood splatter all over the walls and even chunks of their head come off the top of their dome. I mean, it's pretty satisfying. It's a lot of fun at times. But then I was like, some of those parts are kind of fun, but this has to be one of the most repetitive gameplay loops. And I've played a lot of repetitive gameplay loops that I really, really enjoyed, but one of the most repetitive gameplay loops I think I've ever experienced. While the actual gameplay of killing enemies and driving around can be extremely satisfying, I can see why many of you, and even those that don't watch this review, felt like this wasn't a very enjoyable experience not too far into the game and you moved on to other games. I do. On top of just being, not a very good launch and there were other issues, it turned a lot of people off. Even though it did sell really well, I don't know what happened with the studio. I don't know why they needed to get canned, or I think they received a bunch of layoffs or something. It's extremely unfortunate because there was a lot of potential here. I'll get back to that later, but you were literally attacking every boss and underboss and everything in between the exact same way. You go interrogate a couple of basic enemies that will give you some more information on how to do this and how to do that, which, by the way, a lot of those locations are just sort of made up of the same 8 or 9 enemies. If that, it's probably not even 8 or 9. It's probably more like 4 or 5 enemy types in this entire game outside of bosses and underbosses, some of the more important characters, of course. Go and take down a couple of enforcers, grab the stash of money that they're hiding somewhere, and once you're done doing that, you'll return to the quest giver, and they'll send you right back to one of the places that you just did all of that to take out one of the bosses. Right back to one of those same locations, whether it was where one of the enforcers were at, or one of the people that you interrogate, or you got the money stashed from. Usually the place is a little bit larger, so you'll get an idea once you start playing. If you decide to play this game, I'm probably not doing the greatest job of selling anyone on this game, but I find it hard to do because even though, like I said, I did have fun with the game, there's so much wrong here. There's so much sameness here, the repetitiveness. It's not going to be for everyone. And that's it. Rinse and repeat. That is it, people. I mean, for some, that's going to be very boring and just a little bit too repetitive. And trust me, I do get it. Believe me when I say I do get it. It took me about 20 to 25 hours to get it, like I said, but I do get it. If it wasn't for the shooting mechanics and the story investment in this game that I had from probably the first 45 minutes and some things about the visuals, I would have probably stopped playing before the 5-hour mark, and I'm just being honest. And of course, you got your super duper average typical fetch quests that, don't really do anything new. They don't really add anything interesting to what's happening in this game. The meat and potatoes of this game, it's not The Witcher 3, we'll say that. It's not games that have impact for a lot of the things that you do, even some of the side quests. It doesn't really have anything like that, in my opinion, not anything that's truly meaningful. So it's, hey, go grab this crate and go over there and grab that crate that's full of weed, bring them back to this truck after you get off the boat, and then drive another 10 miles to bring them back to Cassandra. That kind of thing. It's just, what was this for? I mean, I guess I'm gonna see some more kickback in the end, some more money, but where does that go? Like, what does that even matter? Like, it's boring. This didn't do anything for me. It wasn't even that interesting of a quest. I shot like 3 guys to get on the boat, went to grab the crates, got on the truck, and took it to Cassandra. Just not that interesting. Slowdown mechanic. It's actually really cool. I did enjoy this. I guess with Mafia 3, one of the better comparisons that you could have with this game is, say, GTA 5. So where I think Franklin can slow it down in his vehicle, and then Michael can do it with his guns. Lincoln can do it with either one. So whether you're in the car or you're on foot shooting enemies, you can slow down time. This isn't anything new. This isn't anything innovative, but Lincoln can do it, and it can save your ass, right? If you're about to hit an innocent civilian right in front of a police officer or something, probably not a good idea. But that being said, the AI in this game, that's another thing, not particularly good. I just, the cops give up way too easily. That's one thing that was a little disappointing for me. And just when they're looking for you, even when it seems like they might be on point for once, they can look right at you at times, and there's no consequence for that. They'll walk away. Oh, he's not over here. Let's try over there. You'll hear that a lot in this game. He's not over here. Let's try over there. A lot of that in this game. Enemies, I didn't want to see it at first. I think I was in denial or something. I had a friend that was telling me, don't you feel like the enemies can be pretty aggressive at times? And I'm like, I haven't really experienced any of that. But then as time went on, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, these guys are making some really stupid decisions, like some of the other games that I've played recently, like coming out of cover at the worst possible time. I just killed all 10 of your buddies. You know that you're alone. It's just me and you. Sometimes they'll even call it out. It's just me and you, fucker. And then, all right, yeah, it's just me and you. And guess what? I have access to like all of these weapons and grenades and Molotovs. I can do anything I want to you at any given moment now because you have no help. Brutal takedowns, which, by the way, actually look awesome and are very well animated. I can do anything I want to you. Why are you coming at me? Like, why? Like, you are overly brave and super stupid right now. Developers have got to do better with this kind of thing. If I've taken out all of your friends or all of the guys that work with you in this line of work, being a mobster, being a gangster, then I think maybe you should leave. It doesn't make you a bitch, but it's probably the best possible decision. You're a realist. It makes more sense to dip out of there, and maybe they could even add something to that, like if developers wanted to take that a step further, like maybe one guy is able to get away and he can go back and give them a better description of you, and the way you like to fire your weapons and the way you came in the door, maybe you came in the window or something like that. I think maybe I'm getting carried away, but I think stuff like that could be really cool. That extra attention to detail. Once you start earning money, and I mean a lot of money, buy some of the better weapons and upgrades. You can also do things like the people that are working under you can bring you vehicles. They can collect your kickback money and also cut telephone lines. So if a witness sees you shoot like an innocent civilian or a cop in the face just because you feel like doing it, or shoot up a restaurant or take the money or whatever, then you can choose to shoot them in the back of the head as they run away or try to run to the next phone, but you could just cut the line. So I think that's pretty cool. I do like that. Speaking of money, the economy in the game does feel a little off. You can earn a lot more than you're ever going to spend. There just isn't enough items and enough upgrades and interesting things in this world, in this game, to make it all worth it. I would say once you reach a point of like 150,000 to 200,000, it's just not really going to matter anymore because there isn't enough to really distribute to all of the things that you would want, and you have to be careful. It's also helpful, and I would recommend watching what you upgrade and who you upgrade with, and which boss that you want to give certain districts to, whether it's Vito or Cassandra, because in the end that relationship with them is going to matter quite a bit with your upgrades and certain bonuses and just passive things that you'll be able to get along the way. That's going to matter. So choose carefully. It's all subjective, whatever matters to you. It can be something with, the vehicle types, or having more health, or just more help when you're in, the most need. There's tons of cops around. So helping different bosses that are helping you is going to change a lot of different things about the game and the way that you play as well. Just overall, I was pretty surprised with the animation work here. And again, going back to the cutscenes, whether you're talking about the gameplay and the movements and reload animations, but the cutscenes in particular, and just the facial animations and the movements with a lot of that stuff, jaw lines and things like that. This actually surprised me. Like, this game at times in those cutscenes has Rockstar Games quality of cutscenes, I would say. I mean, maybe even if not better at times. It can be special. That may not be everyone's opinion. Some of you may disagree, but it's really good. It is really good. And of course, I did mention that the reload animations are absolutely fantastic in this game, right?
Bobby Kennedy, but there always gonna be another Sal Marcano, another Sammy Robinson, another Lincoln Clay.
I'll tell you what they see. A crazy nigga. A nigga part of a savage whole that needs to be exterminated.
Well, I don't give a shit one way or another.
They can come after me.
And what happens when you're not around and another black man or woman is, huh? We all the same to them.
I know that some of you will probably say, nah, it's cool, you know, go ahead and spoil the story. No one really gives a crap about this game. It's 2 years old. I get that, but there might be a small handful of you, even those that aren't currently subscribed, that might enjoy my review, might like my somewhat recommendation for this game and be mad if I spoiled everything. But what I will say is I enjoyed the character Lincoln Clay pretty much from the very beginning. The first hour or two, I was hooked. I was invested. I needed to see more, and I needed to see how this game ended, and that's just how it is. I mean, this is a revenge story, and I think very early on you can get an idea of where that's going. I was a little disappointed that I picked up on it so quickly. I didn't really know much about this game story, so it's not like I spoiled it for myself, even with it being out for 2 years. I just tried to avoid seeing much of it because I knew at some point I would play it. I didn't know if I would finish it. I did. Thankfully I did, because it was really good. But, you know, even like I said, you know, Sal Marcano is a scumbag. His son's a scumbag. Like, his brother's scumbags. But everything is so well done. Like, so much care was taken with the voice work in this game and just trying to get everything right with the accents and the time period, and, you know, couple that with the music and at times the well-crafted city that they've built. I mean, it's incredible. Father James, Donovan's a great character. He was great. It's good to have Donovan around. It's good to have Donovan as a friend. This, like I said, it's absolutely a revenge story, and you just, the length that Lincoln will go to get back at these people, it's special, man. This is a special kind of character, and I would love to play another one as Lincoln. I really liked this character, and I can't put a finger on the voice actor, but I feel like I've heard this guy's voice in other games. But, you know, guys, it's so good, and I think the ending is perfect as well. The way that they set it up, it's not just, you know, go in, shooty bang bang, and the game's over because you killed the last guy that you need to kill. It's a little deeper than that, and I enjoyed that. I thought that, you know, a lot of games, they don't do that, whether you're talking about something that's very, you know, narrative driven, very story focused, or just something with incredible gameplay and they're not really focusing on the story as much, and it's really just, you know, kind of moving through different levels, taking out enemies to get to the boss. This game, the final boss, it was worth it. In my opinion, even though the game could be extremely repetitive at times, I felt like the story was so well done. And I'm going to tell you now that there is a lot of racism in this game, a lot of racial slurs throughout this experience, just saying awful things about black culture, black women in particular. It's this isn't for everyone. I'll say that. If you can't take that sort of thing, if you feel like agendas are being pushed or any of that, this is probably not the game for you. To wrap this one up, to give a conclusion on this Mafia 3 review, I think it's a very good game, and I am being nice. I am going to give it a score. We'll get back to that in a moment, but I think for a lot of people, again, the obstacles are going to be some things with the story and the very repetitive gameplay loop that they're just not going to be able to overcome, regardless of how they feel about the story. Gameplay is everything, especially for me, and if this had been another game with a much less interesting story, I would have put this down. I just, you know, like I said, the visuals can be nice at times too, but that's not enough, you know. But the story was so good, and in my opinion, so well written, and you see some characters, a couple of characters that maybe you didn't expect to see, so it's a special game at times. But Mafia 3 is also what I would say is the perfect example of what could have been. It's a what could have been kind of game, and I'm still gonna give it an 8. I think that's the first score that I've ever given for one of my reviews. I'm gonna give it an 8. I do think it's worthy of an 8 for me. That is just my opinion. For some of you, this game was probably a 3. If you were being nice, some of you would probably give it a 3, and I understand that. I do, but I'm gonna give it an 8. I thought most of my experience was made up of fun, just overall enjoyment, and I hope that Mafia is not finished. I really hope that Mafia is not finished, and at some point we can play another one. And I would like to play another one as Lincoln Clay, but you know, I may get half of that wish. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the continued support. I do appreciate it. Take care. Peace.